Alrighty, just finished up a pre-drywall inspection. Owner's repping it again today. Wanted to show you guys a few things. So this is a nice big custom house. We're using OSB with house wrap, but there's a few spots where the plumbing was a little too far out of the wall. It's supposed to kind of be centered in that wall. And as you can see, if they hadn't cut that notch out of the OSB, that wall sheathing, it wouldn't have sat flat. So they just cut a chunk out. That kind of works for making the wall not pop out and be bowed on the outside, but I mean, all that's keeping stuff from coming in is this house wrap, which I don't trust a ton. And there are a few areas in the house where you can actually see to the outside. So we want to make sure that all gets sealed up, because that will help keep the bugs out and the moisture out. Okay, you can't see it super duper well, but if you look above this door, there's supposed to be tape above the door, bloop, all over here, to make sure that water doesn't go down and get on top of the door frame. This is an exterior door to an exterior garage, so we're not as concerned about it being totally sealed up, but if we get driving rain coming from this direction, it's definitely going to be on top of that door and window, and then you're going to have issues. Once again, why do we need so many people? Why do you need an owner's rep? Just to be double, triple sure. So hopefully the city inspector would catch something like this. These are supposed to bolt down to hold your wall onto your foundation. And I found 3 in a row here that just aren't tightened. So they need to come in, tighten these all down to torque specs. Hopefully the project manager notices that. If he doesn't, hopefully the city inspector does. But it depends on your project manager and it depends on your inspector. Sometimes they test 1 or 2 and then they're out of there instead of checking every single one. And here's another one of those where we can see to the outside. Oh, it's kind of hard to see in the camera. That's outside out there. Okay, then we got this guy here. This is our fireplace exhaust for the primary bedroom. And, obviously that just doesn't look right. So, thankfully they know what they're doing and catch some of that big stuff. And we're actually checked with the project manager. They're going to be removing that window. They don't want it there. And that fixes the problem. But just something to check on. This one's a little tricky. So you've got the plate, which we definitely need to keep any nails from hitting our piping, but it can very easily bow out the drywall and the baseboard, and that looks kind of goofy. It's behind the toilet, so not too noticeable. The bigger issue is, though, our distance here between the drain and the wall. We want to have at least 13 inches, well, at least 12, but 13 is preferred. That way we know that when the toilet sets, it can set here and not be jammed up against the wall, because usually here in Houston, if you got cold water in the tank, it's going to cause condensation, and then you get mold and stuff between your toilet tank and the wall. And then sometimes the toilet just doesn't fit, and then you have to do weird things or get weird sized toilets. So just making sure that that distance is correct. Alrighty, all finished up, and I'm back in the car because it is hot out there today. The question comes up, do I actually need an owner's representative when I'm building a custom home, especially with a reputable custom home builder? And I would answer yes, but it's up for you to decide. Everybody's gonna catch different things. The more eyes you have on it, the better, especially if you're building a large custom home. You're putting a lot of money down. You wanna make sure that you're getting quality. So first thing is, get a well-designed house. Make sure that the design makes sense and that the materials they're using are quality materials. Make sure that those materials are put together properly, and that's where an owner's rep comes in. There's lots of different ways to build and several different ways that are correct or that will work, but it's easy to miss details that can have negative impacts on your home down the road. So this one, for example, spent 7 hours doing my inspection, doing my walk to try to catch things and make sure that this home is going to be a high quality home for the client. Now, you have the project manager. His job is to inspect things. His job is to make sure that the home gets built. He's got a lot on his plate, though. So it's easy to miss little things here and there. You've got the city inspector that has to come and sign off on it. Unfortunately, a lot of them are just overrun with work, and then sometimes they don't inspect everything with as much detail as you'd like. You know, they do not have 7 hours to come in and inspect each home. And they're also just looking for code violations. So they're not looking for the stuff that's just not per plan, not per design. As long as it doesn't violate the code, they are not going to fail you for that. Same kind of deal with third-party inspectors, where they're going to come in and they will inspect the home to make sure that it's properly built to code, to make sure that there aren't any violations, that there aren't any things that are wrong with the home and going to cause major issues. But an owner's rep will come in and actually look at the plans and say, does this fit the intention of the design? Does this work properly? So stuff like looking at the placement of switches and plugs, and you know, it can meet code being anywhere on the wall, but is it uncomfortable to reach there? Does it make sense for that plug to be in that location? So that kind of stuff, you know, I spend time on going through and making sure that the home makes sense and that it's going to be convenient and comfortable and healthy and safe. And so, is it worth it? Again, how much are you spending on your home? Definitely, first, you need to get third-party inspections. The city inspections are not going to make sure that your home is well built. So get a third-party inspector. Get one that's not buddy-buddy with the builder. You want somebody that is comfortable telling the builder they've done something wrong and they need to fix it. So first off, definitely get a third-party inspector. And then if you're doing a big custom home, I'd recommend getting a builder's rep, or not a builder's rep, an owner's rep that understands building, understands the process, can help you to decide if you need help, if something makes sense to do or not to do, and then also comes in and does the work, gets hands-on with the plans, with the build, to make sure that things are done properly throughout the process.